Good evening and welcome to Lorain County Board of Commissioners. It's Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, and it's 3:30. This is a special meeting was called relating to the item below. And please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay,
Commissioner Moore,
I am here.
Trudell,
Here.
Commissioner Hahn. Here. Number one, award a contract to Motorola Solutions.
Here, do you want to put this under the light so the public can take a look? This is the actual resolution that we're going to be showing. And we'll give Russell some time to focus.
It's up there.
Okay. Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, what I'm going to do is, before I have Mr. Petticord speak, in regards to the discussion point right now, we're going to cut at this moment in regards to the two-hour meetings in which there was 2 hours of questions and answers with the engineers and everyone else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up and just pause for a second.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Karen Perkins, Deputy County Administrator. Just want to welcome everybody to our little meeting today. We're going to start close to 10 o'clock so that we can have enough time to answer everybody's questions and give you the information that we need to provide. Obviously, there's coffee available, restrooms down the hallway to your right. And a reminder that we are videotaping today's meeting so that it'll be available if you guys want to review it later. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mike McGrady, and he can do some introductions.
Well, thank you very much for coming today. So as we know, at the Commissioners meeting, there was a lot of questions in regards to Ohio Marks or the proposal, et cetera. So what we want to do is do another presentation, and we have individuals from Ohio Marks here, as well as from Motorola, MCM, and the county. So we'll do the presentation again, maybe a little bit more in-depth this time, and we'll have any questions that you want answered. We can do this. If you have a question about Ohio Marks, we have someone from Ohio Marks here. If you have a question about phase 1 versus phase 2, we have Motorola here. If you have a question about the coverage that they're providing, Motorola is here to answer those questions. So we want to make sure whatever questions that you have, that we can get answered for you. So with me is Jason Robin. Jason Robin is our project manager for the project.
Hello, I'm Robert Bill. I'm the frequency coordinator for Marks. I also serve as a APCO local frequency advisor. So in that role, I help folks from all over the state, either with P25 systems, or it could be VHF, UHF, could be vehicular repeater frequencies. I'm also the 700 chairman for the state of Ohio and the 800 chairman for the state of Ohio as far as regional planning. That just means I work with the state plans for public safety frequencies, and I help folks when they need frequencies for public safety systems. I think that's it.
I'm going to stand up so I can see the people in the back and so you guys can see me as well. My name is Angie Canepa. My technical title is Deputy Director of First Responder Communication Initiatives. I can now say that without looking at my notes. But I am over both the 911 program office and the Marks program in DAS. So as you guys know, the governor made both Next Gen 911, bringing that to the state, and the MARCS program, making it more affordable because he really wants interoperability throughout the state of Ohio. So that's kind of how my position was born, is just to kind of do that. Just a little bit of my background very briefly. I'm a career prosecutor, so I do not have the technical know-how, but since I've been in this role, I've done my best to come up to speed and help and work with first responders in a different way than I am accustomed to. So.
Hi, my name is Robert Rummel. I'm a vice president of Motorola Solutions. I live in Westlake and raised my family there and been looking forward to this moment for a long time. I have not been in touch with any of you because by rules of the RFP in 2022 and the RFP again in 2023, it's prohibited. It's bid tampering if I had talked to you. So I've been listening a lot, watching a lot, and I'm really glad for the opportunity to clear things up here because this is what I do for a living. This is my passion. I was an engineer by trade. I do what I do in sales, not because I'm a sales guy, but because I represent the best product and the best solutions for what you guys need every day. And this radio system of Marks has been incredibly successful. The top 20 counties, basically everybody's using it. They all have these simulcast systems, so we've built a simulcast system here, designed one that will work in buildings. It's fantastic, so I'm really anxious to answer any questions you have as well, but I'll hand it back over to Mike.
And so once we're through the presentation, we'll have the panel up here, so whatever questions you have, feel free to ask. I know, concerns like if I'm currently on a different system, can I stay there? And I'll answer that right now. The answer is yes. And so we're going to talk through all those to make sure that everybody understands. The key is that if you're happy where you're at today, stay there. But we're also going to have the countywide infrastructure built, and so you'll be able to use one or both of those. So that's what we want to talk through today to make sure we're all on the same page.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
My name is Frank Griffin. I'm the mayor of here in the city of Elyria. So first off, thank you. I know your order of operations was going to go presentation first and then questions, but I would ask that could we ask our questions first so that your presentation is reflective of what we have concerns about versus us sitting here maybe going through information that many of us already know or don't want to hear, as opposed to the real questions we have being a part of your presentation.
The only concern I have there is just people here who haven't seen the presentation, so that's why we'd like to do the presentation first, if you don't mind, and then we'll answer all your questions. Because there are people here that have not seen the presentation, and they won't know why you have these questions, so that's why we'd like to go through.
Is this the same presentation that's online?
Yes. Yeah. But we'll go through it quickly so that we can get to your question. But we will get to your questions, I promise.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Jason Roblin, MCM Consulting. And I will try not to dilly-dally. I'll move as quickly as I can through these slides. The title slide has some key terms in it that need defined, and the next slide defines those. So 7 and 800, sorry, I need to turn my brightness up. It's just the bandwidth that most public safety agencies are moving to. It has better building penetration than UHF and VHF because the wavelengths are tighter and they get through buildings. So P25 is a national standard for interoperability, so systems can talk to systems. Trunking is a highly efficient method that uses your frequencies better. And then simulcast is so that all the towers in your system talk at the same time. So if you're in a corner of the county or an area that maybe is out of your jurisdiction, you're still going to hear from the closest tower. It increases the range from just a one-tower system to a county-wide system. The project team members are listed. I'm not going to read the names here in the interest of time, but the county team and then the MCM team, several engineers from our team as well. The goals of the RFP, so we were brought in to shepherd the new RFP process. The goals were to have clearly defined requirements for all of the prospective bidders, to foster competition, to get multiple responses, and to leverage their expertise. So the three major manufacturers being L3 Harris, EF Johnson, and Motorola, they know their systems. They design those systems, they test those systems. They know them best, so we want to leverage their expertise. The RFP had some requirements as far as the system reliability, capacity, things of that nature. So when you see 5 nines reliability, that's the standard for uptime. So that's from system components in the rack of equipment at the different radio shelters to your connectivity, whether it's microwave or fiber. You need your system to always be available to you. The coverage requirement, that is a standard as well, 95-95. And we want to define that so that all the vendors understand how their systems will be tested. So we require a portable radio on the hip with a speaker microphone actually be designed that way and tested that way, so that when you get out to the real world, if you're operating that way, the system wasn't designed for you to be picking the radio up, because it will work better when you pick it up as opposed to your body being right next to the radio. There are some definitions on the decibel level loss. When you see dB, it's just the decibel level loss. Your cell phone works the same way. There's a way you can go in and look at that setting. I knew how to do it on my Droid. I don't know how to do it on the Apple now. But you'll see like a negative 95 dB or negative 105 dB. That's how the systems know it's the signal strength is what it relates to. And so a typical residential building is 8. A typical commercial building would be 15. Heavy commercial 20, and then a building like this might be more than 20. There were 88 buildings specifically identified that the vendors needed to design to. Those are in all of the communities. They're very thick-walled buildings, and if you can design a system to get into those, you're likely to get into everything near them. So all of the schools, hospitals, college buildings, those are the government buildings. Those are the types of buildings that are just thicker walled and is harder to get a signal into. The proposal was for a county-owned 7,800 megahertz system, with the caveat that alternate bids would be reviewed. There's an implementation timeline. The system capacity with future growth. So we were provided the information from the previous study that had all kinds of audio logger statistics. So the actual recordings and audio logger stats that the dispatch center is gathering for every frequency that they're using in the center were given to all of the vendors. So they know what kind of capacity a current system would need. If everybody wanted to go on a new system, all three of the major manufacturers knew how much capacity that system would need. And so they're designing to that. It also had more for comparison against each other in their responses. We required a 20-year length of time for warranty, support, maintenance, system refreshes at 7 and 14 years, if not sooner, and monitoring of the system. So all of the major manufacturers have a network operations center, which will monitor your system, make sure that all the components are up and running, that your system uptime is optimal, and when there's an issue, they know about it before you do. That's the goal of the network operations centers. As part of the process for the RFP, we also had pre-bid meeting at the 911 center and site walks to review some of the buildings and tower sites that where we weren't requiring that tower sites be used, but here are some that are available to you for your design. We also let them know that any response that was from a valid entity, meaning they had signed up and gotten a bid package or an RFP package from the office here, they would be given a chance to show us their system. They'd be given a vendor orals or presentation. There's also a question and answer period where every question that was asked, every vendor received the question and the answer. And there were, I think, four different series where we would gather questions, and on a Friday we would get the team together and we would answer all that we could. If we needed to punt on any, we let them know, hey, this needs more research. We're going to answer that in the next series. We kept those anonymous, so if E.F. Johnson asked me a question, L3 Harrison Motorola didn't know who it came from. They just saw a question. We did receive two RFP proposals, E.F. Johnson and Motorola, and the no bid letter from Cleveland Communications. From the two proposals, they both proposed 10 site systems. Motorola is the recommended one, as Tuesday's meeting revealed. The E.F. Johnson system had 10 sites that are a bit lower powered. It was a good design, but it costs more, and the power output on the frequencies is still unknown. The frequencies are not in hand. They have to go and apply for those, and with potential review locally, potential objections from the Canadians, because we are north of Line A. So 70, was it 140 nautical miles or? 140 miles. So if you're within 140 miles of the Canadian or Mexican border, those two governments have to review and get a chance to comment and protest. So we really don't know that the power outputs applied for would be achieved. The E.F. Johnson one did use microwave connectivity, which is fine. And the only other concern on the frequencies is that they weren't coming out of the public safety pool. Public safety pool is pretty well dried up for the most part. Is that a fair statement?
It's pretty tight. It can be pretty tight, especially up here where you've got all these systems and big cities.
The Motorola proposal uses 10 sites. They're looking to take the current Motorola coverage and make it better to the standards of the RFP. So currently, there are not this many towers, there are not this many sites. What they propose is to have 6 sites in county and 4 just outside of the county that would be part of your simulcast cell that would all talk together as one. The addition of towers in Wellington, Oberlin, I believe Avon Lake on the Turnpike, and the Metro Parks in, is it Sheffield or Sheffield Village? Sheffield, thank you. Those 4 additional sites would be built. The tower at the state prison in Grafton would be upgraded, and the tower at the 911 center would be upgraded. So you would have 6 very tall and very powerful output sites in your county, along with the 4 in the neighboring counties. Another key to the Motorola proposal is the partnership with the state of Ohio. The next 3 slides are going to be cost oriented, and you'll see the amount of funding that the state of Ohio is chipping in. While this is primarily an infrastructure project, there were dispatch consoles for the PSAP, for the 911 center, and there are also mobiles and portables for the sheriff's office and for EMA included. The sites would be built as part of the project, funded through the project, and then the maintenance and long-term support and monitoring would be taken over by the state of Ohio. And that's where a lot of your cost savings over the 20-year comparison period really kick in. BDAs are included. That's a bidirectional amplifier or antenna that does increase coverage inside of buildings. The system is designed to not need them. However, any manufacturer is going to have a risk profile that says we're going to put some money in a pot. If we need them, we've got it. And E.F. Johnson did the same thing with theirs. And most of the major manufacturers, all 3 of them will do this. They understand that there is maybe a room in a building that somebody can't live without having coverage, and they will have the funding available for the client to decide if they want to proceed with that. Specifically, it's a $750,000 line item that if it's not all used, the client gets a credit, and if more for some reason would be needed, it's on Motorola's shoulders to fund. So the cost comparisons over the 24-month implementation timeline of the project to build the towers, stand them up, test them, train people to get any radios on the system, on the new system, comes in a little bit ahead for E.F. Johnson. But then over the lifetime of the 20-year period, in major part due to the state of Ohio's funding, it is night and day more cost effective to go with the Motorola proposal. Your life cycle system refresh, this top line, that's really the bulk of it, where the state is taking the maintenance of those tower sites on their rolls. The connectivity and property costs were close. I don't know that we need to go into a whole lot of detail, but the costs of the E.F. Johnson proposal had a lot of leased towers. So the county would have to lease 8 tower sites for 20 years, whereas the Motorola solution, they're going to take on, like the Wellington site is an existing tower that's going to be leased. They're going to take on that cost. They'll pay that lease cost when they take over the maintenance. And then this slide is specific to the state of Ohio's investment. The maintenance and service level 2, I internally call it new every 2 or like new every 2. Every 2 years, all the tower infrastructure is reviewed. It'll have the latest software. It'll have, and it's really so that Motorola and Marks, when they go to a tower site, they know exactly what's at that tower site. There's no questions of, oh, which version is this on? Or what hardware is this on? They know exactly what it is, and it's more efficient for them to get you up and running sooner. If there is an issue at a tower, for whatever reason, they can get there and they can attack the problem right away. Historical non-RF related services, that's the grounds of tower sites. So the county will never have to put propane in a tank. The generator maintenance, the UPS battery systems, mowing the grass, a grounding problem, whatever it might be, it's on the state. So that's the number. So backhaul at the tower sites. So we mentioned the E.F. Johnson proposal had microwave. The Motorola proposal has fiber, 2 geodiverse redundant fiber links from each tower site, and that cost is on them. They're also providing 6 additional channels for capacity. So when you key up your radio, I don't know, has anybody ever gotten a bonk or a noise where you didn't get through and you wait a second or two and you try again and you talk, right? That's a system busy. System busies are primarily because the system's busy, right? You need it and other people are talking on it. But if you have more channels available in your system, you get those less often. Your busiest day is much easier to grab a channel. So the state of Ohio is putting in six channels at those sites. They're also providing the shelters and relocating the shelter that's currently in Grafton for the system. And then they'll have spare parts on hand. So that's the primary difference cost-wise between the two proposals. So the reasons for the recommendation, I think we just went over a lot of them. The MARC system is alive and well in many counties. If the counties have invested their own local money to increase coverage to the portable in-building level, then they are enjoying that benefit. In total, 77 counties of the 88 are using it with 150,000 users. Millions and millions of push-to-talks every month. And we'll let them get a microphone and discuss their uptime and their redundancies and resiliencies through the Q&A. It is a statewide system, so you will have channels available that if you're going out of county, whether you're transporting a prisoner or a patient for EMS or whatever reason, you're just going to a meeting and you need to stay in touch with your agency, those channels are available. The subscriber units that were quoted for the sheriff's office, those were MCM requested that those also have phase 2 capability. So the radio, that when we say you can use your radio on either system, if your radio is phase 1 and phase 2, which if you're currently on a phase 2 system, it has that backward compatibility built in, you just flip the channel and your radio is on the other system. Now, this is a permissions thing between the two systems, but it's technically capable. That accurate? Yep. As far as the dispatch consoles and audio logger, there are 16 in the quote for the PSAP. It includes 16 hardwired consolettes, which would take, if there's a glitch with the consolette takes over, and it's fairly seamless for the person sitting there. They're still using the same screen and everything. And if for some reason they would need to evacuate the PSAP, there are mobile solutions available, and they're going to test this out with a couple of them. The audio logger, they're going to upgrade the current audio logger, and at some point in time in the future, Motorola has provided the option for the county to review a solution that Motorola is working on that is an audio logger solution. We don't want to hem the county into a timeline, because you make an investment in upgrading your current logger, you want to get the expected life out of that, right? So if it's 7 years down the road at the point when the county would be looking at replacing that logger, at that point in time, we want the county to have that option on the table. So demo it, see what the maintenance costs are going to be, and have that as an option as opposed to upgrading the current logger again. The subscriber unit that was in the proposal is an N50, would have AES multi-key encryption. Again, phase 2 for interoperability. The Wi-Fi is not for coverage, it's for reprogramming. So you have somebody who has a new channel you want to put in the radio. Instead of touching every radio and plugging a cable into a computer one at a time, you can do that over Wi-Fi now. So we wanted to make sure that that option was available to the county. It has a man-down feature and a speaker microphone. We did mention that you can use other radios on the Mark system. I have a paper copy if anybody wants to review the current radios you have, or you can just Google Ohio Marks radio subscriber list, and it gets you right there. The mobile radios are the APX 4500. Again, same list of features. However, we also requested that Bluetooth be enabled because it extends your mobile radio 300 feet. So about the length of a football field, you can still be on your mobile radio if you want with the wireless Bluetooth speaker for the mobile radio. Felt that was a good bang for the buck option. Payment calendar, it's typical that you'd have a little bit up front at a contract execution, and you would hold quite a bit back for your functional acceptance testing and your final acceptance of the system. Subscribers would be due whenever they ship, and you want to make sure that you don't ship them too early. When you're getting ready to test your system, that's when you want your mobiles and portables to show up so you can test the system. The maintenance cost, you'll see this is a 14-year as opposed to 20. We use 20 years for the comparative life of the system, whereas the Motorola proposal is piggybacking on the state of Ohio maintenance contract. Your pricing is at or better than that level, and to be able to use that contract expires in October of 2038. So we want to make sure you can take advantage of that pricing. Yeah, we estimated the other 6 for comparison, of course, with the same escalator that we saw in the first 14 years. Some other things the county would want to budget for are listed on this slide. Land acquisition, you might get a 100-year lease from the metro parks, I don't know. They might not want to sell you any land or lease it, and you're talking to the neighbor, right? So you want to budget for those kinds of things. The actual Motorola contract over the implementation phase, consulting and project management, if that's the path the county wants to go, that's about the going rate. Management reserve fund, so contingency fund, management fund, whatever you want to call it. that represents 5% of your total. The radio management subscription for the extra programming capabilities would be due in the first year of the system going live. Maintenance and support for your first year, and that's specific to your radio consoles in dispatch. And then Mark's user fees. We know that they're going to be $5 a month per radio to a certain time until the new budget bill comes out. And then beyond that, of course, you're always waiting for the state to do the right thing. No pressure, Angie. But these are the costs that are actually known at this time. And then some timing considerations. Of course, we went to Motorola and said, okay, are you going to hold the pricing if the county decides to move this way? Can they get a contract signed in December? Yes or no? If not, and it goes to next year, you're going to hold the pricing. And they said yes. And we said, well, what about the implementation timeline? Like, how many other jobs is the county competing against? Well, the county is competing against 250 other similar projects that Motorola is currently booking. Day by day, people are signing their contracts, and their orders are going to the factory. So the longer this waits, the longer it's going to take to get radio consoles and tower equipment manufactured, ordered, and just pushes the project timeline out. So those are the dates that we were given and planning with. So the next slide is just questions. So hopefully I got through that pretty quick for you. Mayor?
Going back a number of years, and I've been mayor of Sheffield Village for 16 years. I'm on the 12 days to New Year right now when I leave office. But I've been fighting this radio system for about years. In 2019, they did a study. You guys were aware of the study, and then in 2020, they came out with a bid process, and we didn't come up with a bid. And Susie and I did. And then we came up with the bid process. And can you tell me why it took you 5 years to come up with a bid for this process? And can you tell me why the time period back in 2021 couldn't be met? Or can you tell me what the improvements over this are in regards to what's going on with the system? You're looking at another 5 years to have this up, and I'm concerned about how many other lives are going to be lost about the system up. When you were covering Sheffield Village back at the time, the best you could guarantee us is 75 or 70% of the village being covered. We now have 99.9%. I'm sure there's a place we'll find eventually that doesn't have the coverage. But I'm concerned about my residents. I'm concerned about those people that come through the village. I'm concerned about my employees. I tell them all the time I want them to go home in the same condition they came into. And when we stood on the bridge right there at 254 and I-90 at an accident, and the tower being on Burns Road, and we couldn't talk to each other across the bridge. That's a sinful act, and I don't want to see this continued. So if you fill in some of the gaps, like when does a contract expire on the $5 with the state? It's right now, it's up to the state. You're getting funds from the state. Have they been granted and awarded to you already? When is your start date? When is your completion date? All these towers are going up and maintenance of it. There's a lot of things that I'm still fuzzy about. And I guess this is part of George Bush's fuzzy math. So.
Okay, well, thank you. So we were not involved in the initial bid. We were brought in after the initial bid. And so when we were hired, we did review the report from Mission Critical Partners. We did review the previous bid as well as the proposal that was received. And then we created a new RFP, or invitation for bid, so that people could bid on it. And so we've been working on that process, probably coming up on a year now. Once we talk about the implementation, so if once the contract's signed, we're looking at 18 months or so to actually implement the system. So you're going to do a lot of things concurrently. Obviously, going out, looking at the land, acquiring the land, starting the civil work. while the civil work is being done, you're also, they're actually building the system at the factory. You're doing system acceptance at the factory. You're working with the users to create the template for the channels that are going to be in there. So obviously, you want to make sure that you have all the channels for all the departments so that you have interoperability across the county. In regards to the Ohio Marks question, I'll pass that off to Angie for the Ohio Marks for the $5. If you'd like to answer that.
Sure. Okay, so it's really not up to the Marks program what that $5 fee is, to be honest. It's up to the legislature. However, having said that, when I first started this job, that was the first thing I said, is I knew the governor was trying to make it zero. That's what he actually asked for in the budget. The legislature decided for whatever reason that the locals should have some investment in the system, but they reduced it to $5 for the locals only. I would add that too, that I heard this described as a state system. Certainly it is state run, but it is now almost 85% local users, local county, city, townships, volunteer fire departments, et cetera. So the remainder of that are state users. Our state users pay $25 per radio per month. So we still charge our state, federal, and private partners $25 a month. That is the radio fee. However, the legislature is subsidizing that down to $5 a month for our local users at our request, right? That was part of Department of Administrative Services budget request based on what the governor put in his State of the State. I came from Franklin County for 22 years before I came to the state. I understand what it's like to, kind of be at the mercy, if you will, especially of the legislature, right? So I can understand concerns that, who knows how long that lasts. However, I would say that the trend has been downward. It was $10 a month. Well, it started out 20, then it went to 10, and now it's at 5. We're going to keep pushing to try to make it zero. I don't anticipate it increasing, quite honestly, because I can't imagine any legislator is going to, we talk about, I guess, 75 currently sheriffs are on Mark's system out of the 88. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that the BSSA is a pretty strong lobby group, and I think it'd be hard put. So I guess all to say is, we can't guarantee that the price is going to stay $5, but I can tell you that we at Marks will continue to fight for it to stay down or to even go to zero. So
And that price of $5 is until what time period right now?
right now it is through June 30th of 2024. Or no.
25, I
It's a
think.
biennium, so
25.
2025, June 30th of 2025. Sorry about that. Getting used to the biennium budgets.
Yeah. And going to answer your question, Mayor, in regards to coverage, we made sure that all the vendors, provide the coverage that you're looking for. And, they have to put a guarantee on that coverage to ensure that, when a firefighter or a policeman or paramedic goes into a building, they get the coverage. And then we know there's special buildings throughout the county. Schools, hospitals are notorious, for coverage. You're fine in the classrooms, but when you get to the auditorium or the cafeteria, you might have a larger loss in there. And that's what the BDA allowance is for. Now, Motorola did design the system hoping that we don't have to use any of those.
You mentioned the DVA. Do you have to have, is there any part of your system where you're going to have a booster on site?
So right now, they believe with their design, they won't. But we still, both Motorola and E.F. Johnson put it in there just in case you get that one-off building that you have. So, and if you would like to answer that question?
Yeah, it's Mayor and everybody. When you guarantee the coverage we've guaranteed, which is world-class, every heavy building in the county and 12 dB countywide. We're talking on the river, 12 dB. 12 dB, sort of a medium-sized building, certainly bigger, more substantial than a house. So to your point, Mayor, you mentioned that you're always going to find a place where you can't talk. And that's the reason we put a BDA allowance in here for whatever building, whatever corner, we'll be able to cover that too. Also, I wanted to address a question you had mixed in there, Mayor, about why, I think what the question was, we had a crack at this in 2022 to bid it, and then we asked for an extension of time, and why didn't we bid? So we did not bid for one reason. One reason was we asked, and it was formally asked. Jason described the process. With MCP, we said, can we bid a Marks solution? And the answer was no. very clearly documented. We would not offer anything other than a Marks solution for all the reasons you'll see here today. But just want to clear the air on that because there's been a lot of stuff said about that. I just want to get the air clear on that from Motorola. We weren't allowed to bid Marks, which is the right valuable solution.
When you say you'll have X percentage of the county covered, you guys used that figure the last time. You said the last time that you had 95 or 97% of the county covered, but when it came down to the percentage of my given village, it was 70%. So now are you taking a big piece of pie and coming up with that figure, or is there townships and villages that are further away from your towers are going to be in the loss to Lynn, and we're going to be at a higher percentage?
No, it's countywide, Sheffield included. Every square quarter mile of the county is covered in that guarantee. And the difference is the Marks standard footprint. Marks, whenever it was built for state agencies, 1,800 users statewide so they can roam around. And Chief, you mentioned during the Board of Commissioners meeting that everybody's got a vehicular repeater in their car, and that's why it works so well. That's what they had to use whenever they had 175 towers. Now they have 380 towers. What we're putting in Lorain County is we're adding several towers, and the way we're broadcasting the signal penetrates deeper further. That's called simulcast, and you will have the coverage we're talking about. So
And again, but you're going to countywide again. Can you
Countywide, to
narrow
the edge?
down to where I'm going to be at in your percentages?
Tom or Ken, what's the grid size? Do you know?
It's around a quarter mile, just a little bigger than that.
So, every quarter mile, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Push to talk one try, and it has to pass at 95% or better. And we, their experience, anyone's experience with us is we test higher than that. We just don't guarantee it. But
We can get a coverage map from the mayor's city.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can get you a coverage map.
Yeah, they have coverage maps that show that. But I just wanted to get that out there about this vehicular repeater conversation that took place on Friday, is that you do not need vehicular repeaters. To make you feel better, Mayor, I looked at all the counties. We're the 9th largest county here, right? So you have Butler County's 7th, 8th is Stark, 10th largest county is Warren, 11th largest county is Lake. All of them have this same technology, this same system. If you talk to them, it's the best sounding board ever. Like, you will not find a dissatisfied customer. We listed, they asked for 5, I think, references in the proposal. We gave them all of them. There are 20 systems like this deployed in Ohio right now, including Franklin County, Cuyahoga County, Hamilton County, Summit County, Montgomery County, Lucas County, who's going to join Marks. People are seeing this. I can't believe it. Like, I've been here since 2005 in this role, and sheriffs had said they would never, ever, ever join Marks. All of a sudden started joining it to the point that we have 150,000 users on this system. So, and no one's left. So, and by the way, redundancy or needing a backup system, it's never failed. This system's not failed, not the Rico storm that was straight wind storm in 2012. Not any single event has caused this system to stop.
Your engineers mentioned what the resiliency redundancy is, how we have 4 cores, we're connected to 2, et cetera.
Do you want to hear that? Sorry, go ahead.
What about the fiber optic section that you're putting in? If somebody cuts the fiber optic, where does it end up at?
Okay, dual paths. You know what? Tom Crumble is our engineering manager. He lives in Avon. He's been with us for probably 75 years. 30 years? 30 years?
That's a good question, because backhaul, connecting the RF sites is very important. If you don't have a good backhaul, it doesn't matter how much redundancy you have in the RF sites, your system's down. So if the connectivity is cut, and Marks uses what we call geodiverse, it has 2 paths into each site. So therefore, a backhaul cut or something were to happen on the one side, you still have connectivity back to what we call the core, which is the smarts of the system. So we're protected there as far as, because they do have geodiverse routes into each site.
Let's throw them a hard question. Like, what if you cut both of those paths?
If you cut both of those paths, then it reverts to what we call site trunking. You're still communicating. You have full use of all the channels, you're still in full trunking, and your consoles still have the ability to dispatch out to the local users. And that's, again, that's called site trunking. But that's an automatic fallback mode of operation inherent in the trunking system. It doesn't require any change for the user. It's transparent to the user. So there's actually, that's the third tertiary level of redundancy. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have several questions, actually. Moving on from all the other stuff, you guys mentioned you reviewed the initial RFP, correct?
Correct.
What was wrong with that one?
So we're not going to comment on what was wrong with it. That's I don't want to criticize one of our competitors. We know Mission Critical. I know all their owners. They're very good people. We were brought in to revise the RFP so that we get more than one bid, and that's what we did. The bid that that we put out, we probably used 30, 40 different times. So E.F. Johnson, Harris, Motorola, they're used to our RFP. They know how to respond to it. There's not a lot of questions. We only got 4 series of questions, which is not very many. So we're not going to criticize what our competitors did, but we were asked to come in and rewrite the RFP so that we would have multiple bids, and that's what we were able to get. We were able to get 2 out of the 3 vendors to bid on it.
So there was no data obtained for the RFP. It was just to utilize what you guys have previously done?
So no, we actually looked at the study that Mission Critical Partners did, and there's a lot of good information in there. We verified that information, as well as, of course, we looked at call volumes, et cetera, to see if anything had changed since that time. We also looked at, engineering-wise, was everything valid? So we did do some reverse engineering to make sure that everything was, correct before we put the RFP out in the streets. But this is a standard RFP that we've used many times before, across Ohio and other states, and it's been very successful in getting very good proposals.
Chief, I'd like to add that the reason we didn't bid that, again, was because it did not allow a marks option.
Yeah, that was my next question. Why?
I don't know why it didn't allow a marks option. We asked MCP in this formal bid question and answer. We were astonished when it came back no, but I have the document right here. It answered no, and that's whenever we submitted a no bid letter.
Do you think that would have been fair to everybody else in the bid if you were offering a marks option in an agency that big against other bidders? Wouldn't that have made that an unfair bid, and that's why marks may have been left out of that verbiage?
We can't answer what the previous consultant did, I'm sorry.
Chief, let me step in for a second.
I have several more questions, if you don't mind.
This is going to, it's going to top your question.
Okay.
Top your question.
Go ahead. Well, let me get a couple things in real quick. This might be a county question, but I noticed a lot of data was put out from Lorain County about the mark system before the bids were even received. I was curious as to why that happened, and then all of a sudden we're accepting a marks proposal.
So I can't comment on it because I saw nothing put out about the mark system myself.
Every Lorain County resident did, though.
Yeah, I did not see that.
Okay, so maybe it's for Mr. Armbruster to answer? You have no answer for that? Okay.
So the question was...
The question was, there was a lot of information advertised from the county about the mark system before the bids were even accepted, and then we now are accepting a marks system. So I was curious how that happened and what that was integrated in with the process here.
I'm not sure when that happened, but it certainly didn't come from our
I think there was,
office.
4 different newsletters, 3 or 4 different newsletters from Lorain County to every single resident that boasted about the mark system?
Those articles are coming from the county commissioners. They're not coming from the administration.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I will tell you that we never saw those, so I'm kind of glad we didn't. So
Okay.
thank you.
My next question on the RFP was why there was no mention of the current L3 Harris system in use in the Northeast system is to integrate into the current countywide system.
Actually, we mentioned that we want interoperability with all systems. So we want to ensure that the radios that you're currently using on the L3 system will work on the
I'm not
mark
talking about the
system.
radio, I was talking about the system.
Wouldn't the subsystem interlink do that?
On ISSI, yeah, it would totally work.
I'm not a fan of ISSIs, to be honest. I'd rather have you as a policeman, a fireman, my history, I came from the city of Pittsburgh. So I was a professional paramedic, in the city of Pittsburgh, as well as a deputy director and director in Allegheny County. So I came from public safety. So I would rather have you just turn your channel from channel 1 to channel 2 and talk to the people on the system instead of actually trying to interface those systems together. Interoperability should be seamless, that you as a fireman, a policeman, a paramedic, emergency manager, et cetera, all I want you to do is, turn to a different channel and you can talk.
But you mentioned systems talking to systems. That was in your presentation. And interoperability, I mean, it's mentioned in here probably 5 times. Unfortunately, it's not interoperable in Lorain County. I mean, we talk about other counties, we talk about the state, we talk about other agencies. None of that matters. What matters is Lorain County and the agencies that we are working with here.
Yes.
So,
and you'll have seamless interoperability through your subscriber unit.
So, right. So you're basically saying that interoperability means I have to switch to another channel on another system. That's not interoperability. That's correct. That's changing channels. That's not interoperability. ISSIs or ways about that
So
are
we could,
interoperability,
does anybody
right?
want to answer the ISSI? Because, I'm not a big fan of ISSI. Does anyone want to answer that?
Well, yeah, we know that was pushed out of the budget too, unfortunately, but.
Go ahead.
So as Mike says, ISSI is not SAFECOM Level 1 interoperability communications. With one system that works everywhere in the state, that's what you should want. That's what everyone recognizes as the best form of interoperability. As far as recognizing the CCI system, not the L3 system, but it's the CCI system, is it will interface that system without it, through patches, and you don't want that. But think about if you have a gateway, this ISSI is middleware, a gateway set of servers that connect every person's radio to 150,000 potential radios. Well, maybe not down on the river, but how many state agencies, state troopers, moving posts, how do you program all those into that system and keep it fail-safe from human error? And how do you prevent a state trooper who's used to the world-class sites of Marks, built to Marks standards, don't roam onto a CCI site that may be at lesser standards? They're not going to want a state agency or Marks user roaming onto a tower site that's not built to the same standards as a Marks site. So
it's not going to happen, basically.
It's not going to happen.
Okay,
No,
we can move on then. That answers my question. Thank you. So this might be for sort of everybody, but you've heard from all police, fire, EMS, and the sheriff in Lorain County about sort of what we're looking for in a system and what our intentions are, and it's not being listened to. So who can speak on why the public safety agencies in this county have not been a part of this conversation, despite several requests from all agencies involved? And then on your, what did you call it, your project team, there's not a single end user of a radio on this list.
You want to have something from the county answer that, or should I?
As a consultant, wouldn't you specify that would be a stipulation?
You want to answer?
He doesn't care. He said it this morning like 4 times.
We actually took it out of politics and gave it to people that actually do this all across the whole United States, if not outside of the United States, to study the system as to where we are, what we're looking at, and come up with, try to get everyone, all the major suppliers that are in the radio system, E.F. Johnson, Motorola, L3 Harris, to bid this project. And to put it together.
That's not what I was asking. I was asking why the project team is representative of people from this county that do not use radios, not end users.
The answer to that is the project team that we hired, MCM.
I'm not talking about MCM. I'm talking about the Lorain County. This list right here, what your name is included on.
That's correct. And there's been many
no end users used on that list.
You know what? There was conversations that I wanted to have 2 weeks ago, and I sent a letter out to all of you, not a letter, an email. I can't come to the meeting. I'm stuck in the middle. And I sent it to everybody. At this meeting, I set it up that they could, first there was a 10 o'clock meeting and a 2 o'clock meeting. There was an indication that they couldn't make the 10, the 2, so I opened it up to that. But we wanted to come to a meeting 2 weeks ago when you have, or maybe this afternoon when you have your 3 o'clock meeting.
Well, what about 10 months ago when this project
unfortunately,
started?
based on CCI and the lawsuits that I'm involved with, unfortunately, when I wasn't even here, I can't communicate with regards to that process.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the project team working with the consultant to come up with the radio plan for Lorain County.
So
There's not a single end user that touches a radio every single day on this list. That's my question. Why? When both police, fire, EMS, sheriffs specifically requested in county commissioner meetings to be involved in that process.
The way that the administration has looked at this and the county commissioners, and I'm not sure where they're going to vote, but this administration looked at that. You wanted connectivity. You wanted a 99% coverage. You want all the buildings that are out there. I didn't know what a BDA was up to 2.5 years ago. Had no clue. But I certainly understand it now. We met those coverage reports, and we had 2 big companies that bid on it. There's no necessity of us because of what we're providing. The safety forces that are out there is what you're looking for.
Okay, you don't have to answer my question. That's fine. I just have maybe one more question for you, Mr. Ambrose, before you walk away. You mentioned the county is involved in a lawsuit right now about a radio system. Doesn't it make more sense to potentially wait until that's resolved before the county moves forward on a system? Spending $14 million over the next 20 years, and then having the potential of a judge forcing you to uphold the previous contract and now having 2 county radio systems, thus wasting taxpayer dollars?
He cannot comment on that because it is an active lawsuit. I'm sorry.
He commented on it, and it's not about the lawsuit. It's about why not wait until the lawsuit's resolved before moving forward. It has nothing to do with the lawsuit. I didn't ask about the lawsuit. I asked why are we not waiting until that's resolved?
I understand your question, but the answer is no comment on that one. I'm sorry.
So we're not going to answer that question either. No. Perfect. Okay. So that's what, 60% of my questions not answered? Cool. One more question. This is from Marks. Hang on.
The lawsuit keeps you from commenting on various things, but again, it didn't keep you from openly endorsing
right.
all summer long. You know,
Yeah, so,
an unbiased.
So I will. So I will tell you.
Mission Critical Partners
right.
wasn't an unbiased.
So I will tell you, we never saw those newsletters, and we were kept away from all that.
So this question is from Marks. Currently, we have departments near us that utilize the Marks system, and we have needed programming, interaction with Marks, radios, changes, things like that. The response and reliability has been subpar. So why is that? And then if we go to a county-wide system and we need that same response and reliability, is that going to continue to be subpar?
I obviously can't tell you why a specific situation wasn't responded to without knowing the details of that request or whatever. I came here in April of this year. I'll give you my cell phone right now if you all want to write it down. It's 614-327-5109. I'll repeat that, 614-327-5109. That's this cell phone. Call me anytime. I try to be as responsive as I possibly can be to our partners. You know, there's a lot of anger in this room, and I'm new to this, and I'm not.
It's not anger. It's dedication. It's dedication and frustration.
Okay.
It's not anger.
Okay. Whatever it is, I get.
Now I'm pissed.
Okay.
So how's that?
Well, now I'm right. Perfect. Listen, guys, I'm not here to stir the pot, and I realize I'm part of the enemy just by virtue that I'm, associated with Marks. But, if we can, I can because I don't have the same level of emotion that you guys do. That does not mean I do not have passion about providing interoperability to you guys, right? That is what it's all about. You guys wanted a system with 99% coverage. Okay, we have a NOC system of our own. Motorola has a NOC system that monitors the system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every frickin' day of the year. We also have a NOC separate from that also monitors that. We have a help desk that is available 24 hours a day, every day of the year that you can call if you have issues. We have programmers that should be dispatched out to the system. Are we flawless? No, we're human. If there's, it's not to say that I haven't said, hey, Kevin, this county asked for radio IDs 3 days ago and they don't have them yet. Could you please get that done? I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I can tell you that our team is very dedicated. They are made up of people like you who were first responders or are still are volunteer fire department men, etc. They're very dedicated to this cause. It is a very small group. There's 26 of us. That's not many. I know the other day we were compared to the Ohio BMV, this bureaucratic machine that just runs over people and doesn't care how long you're in line, right? That's not us. That is not us. You guys want a system that is interoperable at 99%. You've got Motorola, giving you a great proposal. CCI could have bid. They didn't. And, we are not here to make money. We don't profit from people coming on board. Our gain is you guys getting advantage of the best system that is possible, period. And again, I can say that without some of the historical, offenses that you guys have experienced. I wasn't here for that. I would say my response to why not wait until the lawsuit's over, I'm an attorney. Do you know how long those things drag out? Do you, and one of them was dismissed, I believe, and was refiled in a different jurisdiction, or venue. So that's just more delay for you guys. Why would you want to delay the delivering this service?
We're not being delayed because we're independently working on building radio systems. The county told us it was not their responsibility or accountability to do so. So I'm more concerned as a taxpayer citizen of Lorain County, the repercussions of that.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
The repercussions of that. And maybe you could speak to that since you're an attorney. Could the courts force Lorain County to fill out, pull that contract and fill out its taxes?
I really can't respond to that in all sincerity, just because I'm not familiar with the, I haven't read the lawsuits. I haven't, because we're trying to stay as far away from that as possible, just so there isn't the appearance of, whatever, bias or prejudice or whatever. This is supposed to be just an objective, system. And look, guys, I have California wanting to fly some of our team out there to help them build their system better. They have a system, but it's 3 different systems. Bob Bill has been consulted by multiple states. We are touted as we are the largest statewide system, radio system in the country. So it's not like they're trying to, sell you a terrible bill of wares, right? This is a system that is good. It works. And I can tell you this, and I mean this with all my heart. My job is to go around the state and talk to people. And, you'll have a sheriff that wants to be on it, but the local fire department doesn't, or whatever. There's always different little pockets of resistance for one reason or another. But I can tell you, in my time here, first of all, 3 counties have come on and 3 more are about to, 2 of which are huge simulcast counties. But every single user or every single person that resisted it and was fiercely upset about the notion of it are the people that we can bring in here to you today that would say their only regret is not coming to it sooner.
I don't think anybody disagrees that 700 megahertz P25 digital trunk repeated radio system is fantastic. Better than the VHF, UHF stuff that we use today. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
Unfortunately, previous to you, previous to the current administration of the county, we went to Marks. We were told, you have a tower in the county, program your radios, you're good to go. Right? That was the response. So that's where the problem is.
Sure.
Right?
And
I can stand out in a parking lot and not get coverage.
yeah,
You know why? Because I'm on the lake. And Mark's works for the greater good. And there was no concern about building out towers to cover Lorain County.
yeah. And now we are though, right? You understand obviously. Well, I get it. I get it.
As far as like there was never any concern about building out towers, I'm really the frequency guy, but I get pulled in all the time to help look for tower sites. So I can tell you guys, every one of you here, that I've spent probably the last 4 or 5 years looking at your county and looking for potential tower sites. So even though you may not have seen any like traction, like it's happening, a lot of it's because the county and Marks never got together and never, never, like you said, like this. I've literally looked at your county like hundreds, if not thousands of hours for potential tower sites. And in fact, in the proposal, like where they're putting them now, like Wellington, I looked at Wellington. Me and my previous engineer that retired, we looked at South Amherst. We looked up at Avon and Avon Lake. I've looked at your county. So you may have felt like nobody was concerned about you, but literally I was asked countless times, and I spent hundreds of hours. And yeah, if I can say this in the meeting, it's frustrating as hell. Okay, because you spend all those hours and you never feel like anything's getting done. And it's mostly because we can't come to an agreement. We can't get a partnership working, that kind of thing. And I want to speak to your request about like asking for help. Marks has like 4 radio programmers. So, and I've seen the state divided in different ways, like quarters, and that. Now we have 4. The state is broken up in bands this time, okay? You have a programmer for your district, for this northern band of Ohio, and this might interest you. It's Kyle, who used to work for Cleveland Communications. He went to City of Cleveland, worked for Brad Hankey, and then we had an opening and he came to work for Marks. So he, as you guys would know, would be a phenomenal resource because he's seen it all, besides coming from the military a long time ago. But he's worked on the Cleveland system. Now he's working on Marks. He's an excellent resource. If you give me your card, I will email you the map that shows the state of Ohio and the 4 color bands and the 4 guys, and it has his email and his phone number. So that's one way. And obviously it's going to depend on what you're asking them to do. Some of that might be, like what are you asking for? But I can email you that, and you will have an excellent resource.
Why is there only 4 programmers for 150,000 radios?
Because our programmers basically make code plugs. They obviously can't handle 150,000 users, so they basically work on the masters, and then they work with local Motorola shops, Cleveland shops, Kenwood shops, and the vendors. So basically they are sort of like the keepers of the code plugs, and they sort of keep an eye because, as many of you would know, if you give everybody access to a code plug and just let them do whatever they want to do, your system will be brought to its knees, pretty fast if they just do whatever they want, and you're not watching like, no, you really can't tie all those things together, or so there's part of it is to keep the integrity of the system. That's what those guys are charged with. Like, you're going to come to them and say, hey, I want this talk group put in my radio, from such and such a department. And they're going to immediately say, do you have a letter from them? They're going to say, do you have a permission to do that? And that's just being a good steward and a gatekeeper, so that some department says, you know, I want these guys' talk groups put in my radio, and we're like, do you have permission? Did they want you to do that? And have you talked to them? So it's just, they really act as like gatekeepers and stewards and like master code plug makers. But they come out like all the time and work with counties and cities.
Yep, we have a question right here. Thank you.
Good morning, Barbara Burl Horton from Sheffield Township, and I have a few questions, and probably to you, Mr. Bills?
Yes.
And because it's about the towers. Okay, so we're talking about putting new towers up, right? And so who owns the towers? And also on all other towers, I see them renting out space to multiple mobile services and that. And so they would probably put other providers on those towers and rent them, so who would get that money? That's question one.
I know Angie can speak to that too. We do all kinds of partnerships, okay? What's that?
Marks will take ownership of the towers.
Okay, yeah, so they're saying Marks will take ownership of the tower, and as mentioned in the proposal, what was I getting at? We would also take the, you know, responsibility for all the maintenance. That's a headache that you don't want.
Okay,
Okay.
but then is Marks renting the space that the towers sit on? Is
We-
there any money coming back to the county for those structures?
That's really between Lorain County and Marks to
Have
put
they
in the.
worked it out yet, or have they talked about it, or is it in a
Because
proposal somewhere?
I can just tell you that we do all kinds of agreements. We've done agreements where Marks gets some and the county gets some. We've done, what's that?
That's what I'm asking.
For-
So
for those
what
towers?
I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, apparently that was not part of the proposal. That was not one of the, part of the RFP. But I can tell you again, having driven around the state, we do it different everywhere we go, depending on
Okay,
the
I get all of
partnership.
that, but I'm saying there needs to be something that we all know if money's coming back.
Sure.
The county gets something.
And I can tell you that we have done partnerships where we split that money between the Lorain County, and we have if it is T-Mobile, they pay the county 50% and they pay Marks. No, you know, it's not, it comes to Marks and then we put it to you or whatever. We also don't just let everybody on, right? Because you have to do a structural analysis the load has to be able to handle it.
You do put others on, because I can't imagine a tower going on with just one thing.
Oh, we have those all over the place, quite honestly.
That's right.
But a lot of times, broadband or cellular cover, you guys want that for your citizens, right? And so a lot of times it's county driven to say Sheffield Township doesn't have the coverage or whatever.
I get that, but there's money coming in, so some money should be going back to the county on that. And
Yep.
Angie, are you from the state?
I work for Marks, yes, for the state agency of DAS, yes.
I'm not sure if this question should be directed to you, maybe Jeff, I'm not sure. But, okay, so they're talking about we're going to get state funding for about 20 years, right? For this program. But let's be honest, within 20 years, the administrations in Columbus are going to change a couple times, I would think. So what's stopping them from a new administration pulling the plugs on this money coming in, the revenue for the county, for this program?
Being on the original committee for Marks that I was taken off, I think you guys have all heard that story. That was 20 years ago. What is it, 2003, 2000 when Marks got started, when they first went through the legislature? The only thing that happens to the price for the communities is the prices come down. I do not see the House or the Senate in any way, based on what they have provided to the whole state, actually coming in and crushing that. I think that what's happened historically is those prices have come down to the $5. And historically, I worked personally on it a long time ago to get it down to zero. Because if it's a statewide system that's for safety services, we want it to be less. So I don't see it going up or going away in any way whatsoever. It would be.
It's no guarantee.
There wasn't a guarantee on 2000.
For 20 years or whatever.
And then
we're
for
talking.
23 years, honestly, the price has gone down. It really gives you some track record to look at.
Okay, and here's my last one. And I'm not sure if it's even true, but it's a big rumor floating around about nepotism. Someone at the county administration has a close relative on the MARC system, and so I want to know what are they all talking about, and is there any validity to that? Thank you.
I don't know of anybody from the administration from the Lorain County that's using the MARC system. Pardon me?
The rumor is that your son was a lobbyist for Marx, and at that time he was in high school. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. He was never a lobbyist for Marx. He worked for a legislator that actually was trying to get the reduction of the fees to zero. Hold on a minute. Hang on a minute. And he was never a lobbyist, and he isn't a lobbyist now. And he was actually in school at St. Ed's when this started with Dan Petticourt's son at St. Ed's. So he's a junior or senior in high school. This is, I don't want to get started, but this is horrible in a situation that you've got us. We, as a county, want to provide the services necessary to help our citizens be saved. And we're trying to give you all the best system possible. And I think Marx is that too. And I mean that sincerely. Sincerely.
So back here in the back, Mayor Whitfield from the city of Elyria, kind of to the point you just made, I'm trying to help me understand the logic behind, and Chief McCann has a document that I think he's going to share with you all. But we're going to make sure that's shared. If you have a group of law enforcement and firefighters saying they want something different, I know back in January of last year, or earlier this year, we were challenged as the city of Elyria to put skin in the game. So we went out and spent over $400,000 to buy our own radios with the expectation that the county was going to step it up as well and put their skin in the game. With all these factors at play, and I understand, you know, one of the challenges in today's conversation, period, is this is a sales team. The guy has already admitted he's a salesman. So this is a one-sided conversation. We're not really comparing what the group in here has requested, comparing it to what you're proposing. We're hearing a one side, which is fine. That's your job, is to sell. So you're pitching this proposal, but help me understand what is it? What's the true comparison of what we're looking for and what you're proposing, and why are you so hell bent on? And this is for the Administrator Armbruster first, because he's the CEO of the county. So why would you keep pushing a solution if you have a whole group of folks with collective wisdom and knowledge saying they want something different? Why do you keep pushing this?
The solution, actually, the recommendation didn't come from MCM until, 2 weeks ago, a week ago in the process?
But as was documented, this has been being pushed for months.
Well, there was never any pressure by the administration, by this administration in any way whatsoever, for anybody to go out and buy radios or not buy radios. Am I right, Karen? Karen's been here for 32 years. My staff back there, is anybody pressure out there about buying radios or doing anything? Was there any pressure at all? The county did not do that. When 2 weeks ago, when this group, I don't know who all was invited, I sent an email. I was invited to that, and the administration. I could not go. Did we want to go? Yes. But we could not go based on circumstances beyond totally my control. In the process of where we are with MCM is that we didn't know as an administration what the process was with E.F. Johnson when they came in. I was totally taken back when CCI did not bid. Absolutely blew me out of the water. because L3 Harris was there in the original process to go through and send their engineers and do all that stuff. I had no idea that we would have a no bid from CCI. None. We didn't guide this process. We hired professionals and we looked high and low to find someone that would actually put together a program that would work for all of us and guarantee it.
Just to make sure we're not doing semantics, there's a difference between guiding something and then making another process seem convoluted and you shouldn't trust it and it's not believable. So you can not guide one way, but you can say, oh, this is horrible over here. These folks didn't do it right. That wasn't right. Don't trust that. Oh, I don't know why they didn't bid on it. And now this other, so and again, but then, so as an executive, you kind of push both sides to the side.
Yeah, you know what I did, because I'm pushed. Here's where I'm pushed to the corner.
And so the gentleman asked earlier, why wasn't anyone in this room on the project team helping to shape the vision and direction of this? And he still didn't get an answer for that.
The project team was, these guys are the professionals.
No, that's not.
Professionals are life in danger every day on the street.
So I clearly understand your passion, but to make sure that there was no bias, that someone didn't bring any bias into the meetings. Well, I can tell you that we had no pressure. We had no direction. We had no orders from anyone. We took, we know public safety radio. We know what the coverage needs to be in building, on street, etc. Yeah, and so do we. And so what we did was.
But they're saying that this system is good. The gentleman that was asking the questions just said that the P25 trunk site system is the premium system. So it's not
But
right.
he didn't say Marks is the system.
No. So, right. So going back to the question at hand, Mayor, and to the other individual. So what we wanted to do was to make sure there was no outside influence, in the bid documents as well as in the bid process. So we put a standard, request for proposal bid out there. L3 Harris, E.F. Johnson, and Motorola all have seen our bid. They're very familiar with it. So there was no surprises. There was only literally 4 series of questions that came in, and they're the typical questions that they asked, clarifications, etc. And we, again, were also surprised when we got the no bid letter from CCI. We believed that L3 Harris was going to bid on the system.
I got to interrupt you for a minute. I don't care if you're talking or not. Here's the problem. There's a reason why L3 Harris did not bid, and here's why he did not bid. They changed the whole entire microphone. They changed the whole entire process for RFP. And here's what it says. It says, the county requires interoperability with the Ohio Mark system. That took away the L3 Harris's opportunity to bid the system out. L3 Harris cannot operate with Marks. Marks will not let them operate within the system. It's a monopoly. Nobody can operate within the Mark system. You all understand that, right? Nobody can. That's why L3 Harris could not bid. It's not these folks right here.
Is that a question?
No, it's a fucking statement.
Well,
So,
you guys are thinking people full of BS.
So,
This was not in the original RFP. It was not.
So,
stand there and say you don't know why L3
so that's a standard.
but you know.
It is not a standard.
That is
It's not a standard.
I'm not done yet. Let me
It's not a
finish.
standard.
Let me finish.
How about that public request
Let
that
me
the
let
sheriff
me
asked for?
let me
We
finish.
don't have to provide it, right?
Let me finish.
Show you how
So,
transparent you guys are.
number one, just remember what you're saying.
Oh, I remember it.
Just remember. So number one, in regards to interoperability with the Marks system, obviously you want to have interoperability with the Ohio Marks because you, on a daily basis, turnpike, highways, whatever.
No.
Listen. You want to have interoperability with state agencies and other people who use the state system. You want to have interoperability with them. And so that could have been done through patching. It can be done through the console. It can be done through the radios. So the fact of the matter is, so when but you're saying that they couldn't bid. The fact of the matter is, they did propose a bid for another Ohio county that we bid, where we had that same words in there about interoperability with the Ohio Mark system.
And we all been in the in the room, these discussions could have happened before this bid was released. This all could have happened. But we were not in the room, and we couldn't have these discussions. And
So-
now we're having them now, post-bid, post-almost vote on this system that no one's gonna use.
So-
There is,
Yeah.
wait a minute, there is 33 cities, I'm sorry, not cities. There is 33 departments between fire and police that are already using or in the process or have their radios on order who are committed to L3 Harris, okay? And this is the first time that I've heard you, we talked several times, the first time that I've heard you say, we can patch, we can make it work. Well, you know what?
You don't need to patch.
Hang on a minute. I have paperwork here giving 2 solutions to make the system work to meet in the middle. I was talking to these folks, you and you and you, earlier, when I asked you to hold up for a minute. They were talking about the ISSI, which we knew was a no-go, and then the radio patching. I was just getting that conversation, how we can make things work.
Yeah, and we are going to make it work. So you can stay.
Yeah,
so,
but we're not gonna let you pass stuff until we have answers.
Okay, so let's answer your question. So you're concerned about the users on the L3 Harris system. You can stay on.
Every user, is gonna stay on their current system.
You can stay on your L3 Harris system. You can stay there. Okay, and that will go right through the console. That'll be brought right into the console. Just like it is today into the Telex console, it'll be into the Motorola console. You don't have to change anything. So the fact of the matter is you will have, your frequencies programmed to your radio for your current users, okay? And then if people are on the new system, we'll just program those frequencies into your radios. So you'll be able to talk to people on we'll call it the county system, as well as your own system. Those same users who are on the county system will be able to talk on your system. You can keep your system. Don't worry about that. You're going to be able to stay where you're at. If you're happy with it, I want you to stay in the system.
The whole point of everybody staying here, the whole point of the Avon Lake Fire Chief.
Yeah.
Everyone's here. We should have been from day one involved in discussions. And all this anger and frustration could have been weeded out in a different manner instead of us here filing lawsuits to stop everything. And from us for being in this room this late in the game, from everybody against everybody in this room. This all could have been prevented had it been done properly. And I feel bad for you guys. Because you guys are victims here to the county's bullshit. Because they think they know what's best for law enforcement and firefighters when they're sitting behind their comfy desk in their air conditioning when we're doing the dirty work on behalf of the citizens. They're sitting there in their room, drinking their coffee and tea and flipping their finger up, while we're out there, getting shot at and everyone in the burning buildings. They don't get it. And I know you guys are the experts at communications. I get it. But you're not on the line either. These are the guys that are pushing the button, talking help.
Can I ask you, I hear you loud and clear. I mean, right, you wanted a seat at the table and you didn't have that. Do you guys feel, and this might be different for each one of you, but do you feel the outcome would be different than where we're at? Or
Yes.
do you, okay.
Yes, because here's why it would have been. Because everybody would have been a little calmer. Right?
Sure.
I would have been a little calmer. Maybe.
That's never possible.
I knew he wasn't being honest.
But I think it would have been different because we all came not in a defensive posture.
And Chief McCann, I'd say it'd be different also because the solution might be different. So right now, again, you're pushing this smart system onto us. And cities like Lear, we've already bought into the Harris system and making investments. So I think if folks were at the table, the solution wouldn't be this kind of one size fits all. We would use that $11 million, but maybe $14 million for a solution that assisted all of us to get what we desire versus right now it just seems one-sided of the county pushing what you want us to.
And there's got to be a middle ground here. There's got to be a middle ground.
There's
There
been
can be a middle
knowledge
ground.
discussion from the agency sitting here, something that we were making progress to. Now we're being told, shut up. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, are we the
Millions of dollars, our taxpayer dollars. Shut up.
And we haven't gotten a straight answer yet on will total interoperability be achieved?
How is it gonna, how is it gonna be?
If I could, all right, so a couple things. I'm Joe Pernesti, I'm the fire chief of City of Elyria. First off, you have your jobs, and we appreciate that. I agree, though, that many of us have been in some really crappy situations. This isn't a battle. We chose to do what we do, but we have a passion. And a couple questions. First off, we talk about leadership. If we want to get this fixed, everybody's got to just calm down just a little bit. Everybody. Everybody. I do agree that when we buy something, we have to analyze it ourselves. You have to understand that. I also don't want anybody painting a bad picture of us, because that's rule 101 of politics sometimes. When there's animosity on a safety force, believe me, I've lived it in Elyria. They will paint a poor picture. That's not the case. So, to the consultants, I have a couple questions that I would like answers now. Some of it is selfish to Elyria, others are for the Northwest. We have Elyria Township, Sheffield Township. There is literally no one right now that hasn't either purchased radios. Now, I don't want to hear about radios and systems. They purchased radios with the intent of going to the L3 Harris system. We are first up. We just happen to be first at the Alamo. I would like, on the record, for you to say, will those departments, Elyria First, be able to hook up and let's get this clarified too. The locution dispatching is a separate thing. But we're facing a wall. This is 2 years down the line. We need something now. I told, where's he at? Where's Jason? What did I tell you guys? I says, build it and they will come. Okay, you're still building the damn thing. But we've invested in our firefighters and our police officers now. We deserve to be hooked up without politics, without banging heads against the wall, to what we want now. You can make that happen. I ask you, I'm begging you, to allow that, to don't put things in our way. If we want to hook up, then you build the greatest freaking system ever. And then we'll test, because that's what we do. We will put our people up and test. Now, there's a battle back and forth about what was promised and everything. I will say and go on record, there isn't one chief in here that either agreed or understood anything about dispatch and what Columbus is doing. Also, besides the village, the city of Elyria was the largest department to go over to 911 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 2010. It's our decision. It's a city's decision to go over there. And it should also be the city's decision as to what radio they want at 911 and how they want dispatching. It is unfortunate. One thing to remember, you mentioned this a couple times. Sometimes people that don't wear their uniform don't recognize this. Lorain County is the microcosm of the fire service. Franklin County, you have all paid departments, okay? Lorain County, you have a guy that, he works nights, okay? He's part-time. You got full-time.
You got volunteer.
And you cannot paint a broad brush with every single thing.
So let's go back to your first question, Chief. So the fact of the matter is that number one is we will work with the county will work with any department or city that wants to move to CCI or any other system. So we will work to integrate you in. The big thing is you have to give notice because there's a lot of work. Hold up. Hang on. There's a lot of work that has to get done. So what I'm saying that is, so what you want, so say you want to go over in 6 months. Well, give that notice. Say, hey, in 6 months, we want to move over on July 1st. I'm just giving an example here. So in that time, they'll be able to look at the consoles, work on the consoles,
get the consoles programmed correctly. If we need additional license to be purchased, purchase additional license. If you're going to put additional antennas on the tower, well, you need to get a structural analysis done on that tower with the current antenna load, okay? Is there anything we can take off so that we can put the new antennas on, especially if it's a one-to-one swap, that's easy. But you want to look at all those things. So the fact of the matter is, and Jeff Armbruster can correct me if I'm wrong, but the county will work with any department, any agency, any municipality that, like, just like you do, that you want to move to, the CCI, we will work with you to get that done.
I'm not waiting 6 months.
No, you're different. We've already been working with you.
Okay, so we're different.
So
but-
what I'm saying though is, if another department wants to do that, you have to give notice. You can't say 3 days from now we want to move over. You want to give a fair notice, and maybe what we can do is work with the county to get a policy procedure in place so that we can work through that.
And that is where you need to grab some firefighters and some police officers. But right now, it's so freaking hot.
Right.
In the room. I want Elyria hooked up. I want it hooked up
I know you do.
tomorrow. You've said that we can do it.
Technologically, you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely. We've tested most of it. Yes.
The other thing that you also have to remember was that even before Mr. Armbruster was here, there was plans being laid out on a communications system. And so you have fire chiefs and police chiefs that remember those things. The locution is in every firehouse in this county. That should be hooked up. I don't want to hear about room or anything. There's room. Plus, if you sat us all in the same room, we could discuss all the rumors. Like, I'm glad Mr. Armbruster acknowledged the rumors about family and all that stuff. We too want to acknowledge the rumors of we don't need 25 freaking PTT boxes, okay?
So go back to your question. So number one is, if there is an agency that does want to move over to a different system, we as a consultant in the county will work with that agency to get you moved over. Let's just develop a process, steps in place so it can be done, in a good fashion.
Who's going to run that, though? County or you?
Hang on. Number two, we will, going back to the chief, the fact of the matter is, we will work with Motorola and Ohio Marks to ensure that we have the most seamless interoperability that we can between the CCI system and the Motorola system. If somebody else is also say, for some reason they want to say VHF, then we will work the same way, because we want to make sure that when you're in the field, that you're not worried about what system am I on. All you want to know is I'm on channel 2, Fire TAC, and Fire TAC 2 works. That's what we'll do. So we will work, to make sure it's seamless across the board, the best way we can do it for whether it's fire, police, EMS, whoever it might be.
But the one caveat, though, is that we have this schism where CCI is a bad word because of this lawsuit.
Well,
You
they're
have
not,
to be
they're not a
able
bad word
to-
to me because I'm not
Okay.
involved. So I'm
But
the neutral party. I
So
can
you
work
might
with
have to
CCI.
work with them.
I can work with CCI.
So lastly,
without an issue.
you have.
I know
okay,
close.
So lastly, what I would like to hear from you is, again, Elyria is ready to go. I keep pointing Sheffield Township and Elyria Township because they're next up. There really shouldn't be anything left for these agencies to do. So,
Well, there is in the 911 center, and that's what we can sit down and talk with them. Sorry, what's your plan? And that's what we can do. Sorry, give us your plan. When do you want to move over? What frequencies, like what talk groups do you want to have? Are you having the same talk groups? You having different talk groups? These are things that need to be done, and we can work. We can work with those departments. All right, let's sit down. Let's lay out a plan. You always have a plan laid out when you're going to move anything into a console. And so we will sit down, and that's what we do on a regular basis, is we sit down, we can sit down and say, all right, where are you going? Well, we're going to go on these talk groups. We want to be dispatched here. We want these talk groups for operations. We want this for whatever, and we'll work through that.
and at the end of the day, what would happen if not one agency, except for North Ridgeville Police and Avon Police, if not one agency decided to go to Marks?
And that's the big question.
What would happen?
Yeah, what's your, so like, as a kind of third-party neutral person, you hear 90% of the departments are looking at this other. What is the justification for going down this other path and spending $11 million?
So I think at the end of the day, once the system's up and running, and that you see the coverage that it provides, the interoperability that it provides, I think over time, well, hang on. You know, I understand what you're saying, Mayor, but I think over time, people will see this is a very good system. It works. I think when you're looking at $0 or $5 a radio, when you look at cost over the period of 20 years, that'll also be looked at, and things like that. So I really think once it's built and it's up and running.
Would you do it if you were the decision maker and you saw 90% of departments were going in one direction, already invested millions of dollars, and then you got another group that's proposing spending $11 million to build a whole new system that this group said they don't want, and that they're still. Do you think that's a good business?
Yes, I do, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a county-wide system, okay, that is owned and operated, between a joint between Lorain County and the state of Ohio. So it's a government-owned, that you actually, that the taxpayers, either state or local, own that system. I also think that as the system is built out and you get the coverage that you want, you're going to say, wow, this is actually a really good system. I have no criticism against CCI. I know those people. I have no criticism, against anybody there. But the fact of the matter is, there was a competitive bid. These are the proposals that we got. We, as a neutral party,
that's
looked
fine.
at those.
That's fine.
But going back to your saying, so you have.
But hook us up.
Yes.
If, you know what?
We will work with hooking you up.
Not just Illyria, but everybody. This isn't just about Illyria. This is about everybody.
Do you have a question? You use locution?
I desperately want to use locution.
Oh, you started. Now, why did you ask him that question?
Here's the deal. And just so it's all out there, because I don't care anymore. And I was taught by some of the best. Her husband, one of them. Do the right thing, he always said. Do the right thing.
Okay, let me, a follow-up. So is there a big opposition to using location?
Yes, so let's clear that up. Let's clear that up.
So-
Because, no, it's
So
time
the-
that a fireman talks
Yeah.
here for a minute to the firefighter. Here's the thing that I want cleared up. No other stuff, Mike, please. No other stuff.
Can you use the microphone, please?
No, I'm Italian. All right. Okay. I feel like Phil Donahue. It's all right. Call her there. All right. All right. Okay. So, and that's what leadership is about, is to be able to handle these things the right way. But here's what I would like on locution. And Mike, I want this answered. And yes, I want to be the one discussing it and leading it. So you're the expert?
No.
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
So here's the locution
When
problem.
it comes to locution, but I know
Okay.
folks are using it.
So-
I wanted to get the back.
Years ago, 2-3 years ago, the locution and the automated dispatching was discussed. Awesome. The former 911 director had a plan, which was good, laid it out, and they ran it in the Northeast. So there are 4 cities that have that. I fell in love with it because we have a distinct problem where every city is a little different, whether it's whatever it is in my city. What's that? And I have multiple stations. In the Lorain County, there's 2 fire departments that are full-time with multiple stations, Lorain and Illyria. So I wanted the zoning, and I wanted the locution because of the clarity. And it's passionate to me because it's also a health issue for my firemen. So they went on. Northeast went on. Regardless of whether there was a communication gap or I'm thinking that the county should buy it, I was told if you want it, you buy it. Okay, called their bluff, we bought it because I want it. But now we've come to this big headbutting on putting it in service, because if we were to go on to Northeast, yes, we may not, there's ways that you can only hear certain things, that's great zoning, but we would all have to be on the same dispatch channel. We don't want that. We're not Columbus. We don't want that. Does anybody want that? Fire chiefs, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I need you guys to back me up here. Are there any fire chiefs in this room that want that? No. So we're going to have to come up with some sort of zoning. Yes, I know locution has magical things in the future. Hook me up now.
So I'll answer your question. So we will work to get you hooked up as soon as possible. And then what we're going to do with the other departments is, again, let's sit down. So the ones who are moving over to CCI, let's sit down and work that out first. And then let's look at getting, what we want to do is if we can get the consoles put in ahead of time, which we can do, we can actually run locution right through the console. So going back to Chief's push to talk box, those boxes go away. Everything is actually through the console to the locution. So that way it's clean, it's seamless. We can do the IP as well as over the radio. So I think what we need to do is really work with dispatch and get up a set of, and work with the departments, get a policy set up. Sorry, we want to do A. Okay, well, A only takes 3 months. Give us 3 months notice so we can walk through it. I want to do B. Well, B is a lot of work. Let's do 6 months notice, and let's just make sure that we have a plan in place to work with the fire departments, police departments. I know you have some separate EMS that we can work through that, and we can do that for you.
Can you get me hooked up by January 15th for locution? They're testing my houses right now.
What day's today?
Part of the problem, I mean, is that I've been in communication several times, and Joe, you're aware of this, with the city of Elyria. And I was directed to deal with a safety service director. And I am dealing with that safety service director. The county does not have the FCC licenses. I'm not sure who does. I'm not sure if it's CCI or the city of Avon. We need authorization in order to move that process over, and that authorization either has to come to Elyria, and Elyria then will provide it through the agreement that we're going to have with the city of Elyria. That, by the way, is not signed. The MOU is not signed by the fire chief. It goes through city council to the mayor to the county.
That's between Elyria and Avon, not Lorain County.
So are you going to be okay?
I understand that, but that's what the chief is asking why it hasn't been hooked up now, is that process has not been completed.
That's an incorrect response, because you are not the police of somebody else's records.
Well, the county can't just use somebody else's FCC license unless, correct me if I'm wrong. Huh?
So no. So what he's saying is if somebody wants to come onto your system, all we're saying is, all we need something, a letter of concurrence, whatever, from, your city saying, yes, this company can come on my system. That's all you have to do. And then they're already listed as a control station. Yes, they're already on the license as a control station. You're less than 6 meters, so we're fine there.
Would a letter from their safety director suffice? Or do we need some
There's already MOUs in place. It has nothing to do with the county. It's between the individual cities.
Right. Yeah, so all they're saying is for them to, all we're saying is if somebody wants to come onto your frequency, like we talked before, just say, hey, this department has permission to be on our frequencies. That's all we want. Then that's all we need then. Well, yes, it is. So yes, it is. Yeah, if the county is the one dispatching, they like to have at least a copy of that. So, well, I would disagree with that on an FCC level. Thank you. And I enjoy, that's fine. We can be professional. I have no problem with that.
So as a consultant.
Yes.
Why counsel though, sir?
Here's what we got involved in with regards to a political subdivision. I was told by lawyers and the mayor that fire chiefs and police chiefs don't sign MOUs. Mayors and city councils do. And I said to that mayor, I said, this is a problem. I can tell you right now, it's a huge problem. Because in this county, we have operated with a handshake through the whole process. And you're forcing me, you're shaking your head, but let me tell you what, the MOUs, I'm not going to outshout you. The MOUs, quite honestly, are nil and void. There'll be new MOUs for every city, and it's going to have to go through city council and through the mayors in order to hook up. Pardon me? No. That has, because of what happened, Our prosecutor's office is actually doing the agreements, and each city's going to have to sign up on it. And unfortunately, I knew it was going to blow up in my face. I'm taking the bullets for something that a mayor said that made no sense to me. None. And it makes no sense now today. But I have to follow it because I had to go back to 2014. 2014, it's 9 years ago, to find a mayor and a council that passed the legislation. And because of that, it created this huge problem that we're in now, that Joe's in, that Illyria's in, and that the mayor's in, is that now today, I just got, and you just got it, right, Jim?
Yeah, so I'll speak on this. So, Chief, I got CCI sent me an MOU or a contract that the Avon mayor and then signed through a CCI that I'll read it to you guys. It says the leaser. You may already have the sheet. I don't know. I do. Yeah. It says the leaser is leasing to the leasee 3 SEC licenses for the operation of the communication system that is contemplated herein. So CCI is leasing all the licenses, so they have complete control of all licenses and who can use those licenses. So Avon City Council and Avon Mayor already gave that authority to CCI. I have that document, I'm forwarding it to these guys. Well, he says he doesn't have it.
I don't have it. In fact, this is the first that I've seen this.
I'll give you the whole entire group.
I need a copy.
Everybody will have it.
So,
So
all
anyway,
right, so thank you. So going back into this, so number one, Chief, we will work with you to get you set up, move over to the 7800 system, as well as locution. For the other departments, so the other departments who want to move over, send a notification. We can talk afterwards, but get us a notification so we can sit down and start talking with you and work through the logistics of it, okay? That's what we want to do next. So, but the fact of the matter is, you can move to where you want, okay? But when the new system's built, you can use both. If you get to an area where the county system gives you better in-building coverage or whatever you need, then you're on those channels. Those are things that will work out as the system gets tested out. It's not uncommon, in my experience, where, you have countywide radio systems, but I know this one area that the next county over has better coverage. So what they do when they go on a call, they actually put them on those talk groups and say, go to these talk groups because we know you have better coverage. So that's the next phase. The next phase is.
There's two representatives.
Yep.
From the Northwest that are right behind us.
Yep.
And
that's why I said we'll meet with them.
I asked that you meet with them today and set this up so there isn't a January, a February, a March. Because the other thing is, we got an eclipse coming, okay?
Hey, look, I survived Y2K, buddy. I don't want to hear it. So, I don't want to hear it.
I did
No,
too.
but I think.
I'm not getting into that, but
Yeah.
just meet with them so there isn't that
Yeah.
wait. And then you have the Southwest.
Yeah.
They all have their radios.
Yeah.
Set up the date and meet with
Yeah.
them so then we're not waiting.
So I will tell you, this is a great meeting. I know passion's got a little high. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I came from the city of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. I grew up in a political family, so you're not hurting my feelings at all. What I look at is, let bygones be bygones. Business is business, and we just go forward professionally to make sure the people who want to move over to the CCI, we get you moved over, but it's done the right way at dispatch, so you have good connectivity, things like that. At the same time, working on locution. Let the county build their system out. I truly believe that when it's built out, you'll be very impressed with it. And then you'll make those choices. Do we move over to it? Do we not move over to it? Do we use it sometimes because it gives us better coverage in this corner over time than the other one? That's fine. But again, let's keep our heads high. Let's be professional. Let's work through this. Again, you look at dispatch. Dispatch does things 23 different ways. It's time. Why don't we all sit down and get some policy and procedures as we build this race system in place so that everything's professional and the poor dispatchers aren't pulling their hair out. Let's talk through things like that too.
Nobody disagrees with you on that.
Yeah.
However, it goes both ways.
Oh yeah.
And that has to be fixed also whether it's leadership at 911 working with us,
Mhm.
or what have
Yep.
you. Maybe you can facilitate that, but you still have 20, we are the microcosm of. the fire
Absolutely. So volunteers do it differently than guys with paid drivers versus paid companies. I'm well aware of that.
Not
You
in
know,
an ego way, not in an ego
No,
way,
right.
just the way it is.
but the key is if they know what they're supposed to do, and that's the key. You know, we took Summit County, and they have their new consolidated PSAP. So you took all these departments that did things completely different. Everybody sat down together, worked through it, and we actually implemented them 6 months ahead of the cutover to the dispatch center. So when we cut over to the new dispatch center, everybody did the same thing. And but it was working with the police, the fire, the EMS, and 911 to come up with those. I think there's one question in the back I saw. Yes, sir. I'm
I
sorry.
hate to change the subject, but
It's right in the bottom.
I hate to change the subject, but I guess I want to ask a few technical questions. Jim Woodrum, Camden Township, we have a small volunteer fire department. A lot of good mutual aid around us that helps us immensely. We have a large greenhouse that we have problems with far as communication with what we have. And
We actually toured that as part of our site walks.
Yeah, it's cool. They're good to us, but we have communication problems. And if I don't know if they were one of the 88 the buildings that would need a BDA.
I believe they were because we actually toured that site because we knew that was going to be a problem.
So the question I have, when I was listening to you earlier, it didn't matter if you were a phase 1 or phase 2. If we have a great rapport with the sheriff's department.
Yes.
And hypothetically, they're a phase 1, we're a phase 2.
It doesn't matter. Their radio will work. And they'll be able to talk.
Us?
Yes. Yes.
And that would require that BDA in that building?
No. So we don't know about the BDA yet. So once the system's built, we'll actually do in-building testing there to see if you get the coverage we hope you have. If you, like say you have 90% that has the coverage but 10% doesn't, then we take care of the 10%. Yeah, that's what we'll do. But in regard to phase 1, phase 2, it doesn't matter.
And either one will be
It'll work.
911 dispatched and.
And you won't know, like the user doesn't know they're on, they don't know if they're on analog, phase 1 or phase 2. But yeah, that I did go tour those just to see that. So yeah, that was one of the areas.
Very good, thank you.
One of the things I would add too, just reminding you, this discussion of this being a microcosm of the fire. If you are Mark's users, if you ever become Mark's users, there is a fire marshal grant that it comes out every year where if you apply for that, this year I think he's covering all user fees. And he, definitely tries to help the volunteer fire departments out, first in all of those asks. I think it was 4.5 million this year, it was 4 million last year, so he's just gonna keep doing that. So again, that's just another potential resource out there.
It covers equipment and user fees. Covers equipment and user fees.
You say that again?
It was saying it's a $50,000 grant.
$50,000 grant, which unfortunately what we hear from many fire departments is that's just enough to get them in trouble. Get a couple radios, they're on the system. and
Yeah,
from that-
yeah. There's also USDA grants, as you know, for people, communities that are low and moderate income. So that's another $50,000 you can go for.
The township being a small fire department, it's $125,000 to us, which, good golly, I mean, that's like $1 million.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna make it happen. We'll figure out, we're bottom rung of the ladder, but we've got good people around us.
Yeah.
And there's no argument to anybody here. We'll just figure it out.
Yeah, and that's one thing. If you have questions on grants, we do a lot of grants. Like I was talking about the USDA, that's for low and moderate, income communities. You have the TAG grant, if you have any rails, things like that. So there are a lot of grants out there that help the smaller departments, pick up their radios. So, again, we will work, with the county and with your departments, to make sure everything gets, integrated the way it's supposed to. We will work with locution in that. And again, once the system's built, who do you think is going to test it? Of course, we'll do the testing, but we want the police, the fire, the EMS. We're going to have to do different, templates, of course, code plugs for the radios. We have to sit down with you and say, like, what do you want in your radio? What do you not want in your radio? Those are things that are going to come up as part of the process. And we'll also work to get the most, going back to Chief, who had the concern about the most seamless interoperability possible for, the two systems. Yes, Chief.
All right, I'm wearing two hats here today. My name is Russ Scarborough. I'm Chief of Leary Township Fire Department. I'm also representing the Northwest Fire Departments, which is Leary Township, Sheffield Township, South Amherst,
Yep.
Amherst, Florence, and Vermillion.
Mm-hmm.
And our intention, and I've even sent a letter recently saying our intention is to go to the L3 Harris system.
Yes, sir.
We have vetted that, and you're saying that's not a problem.
Correct.
So right now, I'll take you for your word that. What I haven't heard here is anything from the sheriff's office. I'm also a project specialist at the Lorain County Sheriff's Office, and I can speak for Sheriff Stemeti on this wholeheartedly. He absolutely is not going to Marks. He believes in the L3 Harris system. He wants to go to the L3 Harris system, including their mobiles, their portables, and symphony consoles at his dispatch desk at 911. Is that going to happen?
I can't comment on that. I don't know the answer to that. That would.
That's the only thing he will accept. I can speak wholeheartedly for that man on
So,
this.
so I think that's one we'll have to take under advisement and find out for you, but I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
But again, any other questions? If not, I agree. Oh,
I just have one for.
any other questions except for Chief?
Yeah.
No.
So I have one. I don't know if anybody's read this thing from Auditor Faber. Anybody seen this before yet? Auditor Faber, anybody seen this? Just, I need to hold my glasses out real quick. Sorry about that. It's a big report, but I'm just gonna read just a portion of it. There's one portion on page 22. When he did a critical study on the Mark system, the financial modeling conducted by our office indicates that the program may be unable to meet financial obligations by 2027. To prevent the need for emergency funding measures from the General Revenue Fund, DAS must make changes to secure the program's future financial stability now. This could include increasing the program's base users, which is us, increasing fees, or considering alternative funding models. So this is an independent report. I don't know much about the Faber. I don't know much about that, but it's in the April 2023 report, so I'm not saying take it for anything but general information, but this is inside here. So when folks talk about the state raising fees and stuff like that, it may not happen, but you know how the state is. The state can say, we're gonna go up by $40. Is it gonna happen? Probably not. May it happen? It may happen. But just look at this report. It's a big report. My information inside here. That's only one snippet from the summary of recommendations from Faber.
Faber.
Yeah, I think Andrew can answer that question.
Yeah, so we asked the auditor to do that report so that we could ask for more money from the legislature, which we got, as you guys know, in July. So one of the things they wanted us to do was ask Motorola to bill us twice a year instead of once a year because we have a dip of money. In July, our fiscal years are July 1 to June 30. So we were paying Motorola right up front the full amount that we owe them, and so there'd be a cash poor month, several months. Motorola has since agreed to that. One of the other things that the auditor suggested we do is collect from people that owe us money, because we're really bad at that. We kind of let people float. I volunteered to personally collect from the IRS because the IRS was just like $28,000. So I found that a little bit ironic. Yeah, I don't know. We never ever cut people off. So, after the legislature reduced it, and again, we were using this to, the Director Madden asked for the auditor to do this report. So that we could show the legislator that we had need, right? And so we got that need fulfilled. And to the point that we did not raise the rates on the state this year either, right? So we've kept it at 25 for several years now, and that, for our users. Again, there's no guarantee, but I would submit that there's no guarantee with any system, right? I don't think CCI can guarantee anything either, right? In fact, I think they're actually guaranteeing that your prices are going to go up to, I think, $22 or something. I felt like that was part of this.
15 years.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I can't say what's going to happen. When we go into counties, we try to partner 50-50 with them, meaning the state brings 50% of the cost to the counties. So again, it's not, there's no profit here, obviously, because they're saying we're going to go belly up, except, again, we cut the rates to $5 since that report was written. So, we are here to support you guys, right? The only thing we want is for you guys to have coverage in every single situation that you encounter. So, if that is the way this goes, right? Who knows what's going to happen with all of the court stuff that's going on right now, frankly. But, if this passes and the mark system is stood up, you have my word, you have the word of Mr. Bill sitting next to me, who's already done lots of work, that we will support you in any way we can. Whether that means you stay on your system that you're currently on, go to the system you want to, whatever the case may be. I would also say that, with Next Gen 911 too, there are some supports coming with that, because we are going to cover last mile connectivity. So you might want to talk to Patrick Brandt while you guys are dealing with your PSAPs and stuff, just to see if there's any intervention that he can get to you now, or direction or whatever. Just throwing that out there.
So again, I know there was some good passion here today. At the end of the day, we're all professionals. We're all here to work together, for the same goal. So I greatly appreciate your coming, but you have it. If you want to move over to CCI, the 911 center, the county consultants will work with you to get you over there. Let's just do a planning process, for that. And then we can continue, like after the meeting, we're going to stick around because we have another meeting at 2. So feel free to pop in and talk to us. Any other questions that you didn't want to ask in front of anybody else, feel free to ask those questions. And then we'll go from there. But thank you. You have one more? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One more.
Yeah.
We keep talking that it's capable to link the two together, right? With specifics, CCI to the system, which would be Marks. However, that would take an LLA connection, correct? So we'd have to have that upgrade to an LLA, because it's going to be a requirement from Marks in order for us to link together?
Yeah, I'm not at all an expert on that, so I'm not gonna try to address it.
That's something we'll need to look in for you, okay?
That would be more of those guys or a Motorola.
So it's also my understanding that we're going to need that LLA, right? So that link layer authentication in all radios. It will also be a requirement by Marks in 2025?
Yes.
Okay. So being that requirement, we currently have 747 radios, so portable radios, already up to Harris radios in Lorain County, and 288 mobile radios in Lorain County.